understanding that what is my individuality? Where in the stage of education of what Japanese call as the ikigai. I'm sure some of you must have read the book on ikigai. The basic conviction that I'm able to grapple that yes, this is what I'm born for, and this is what therefore I love doing, and this is how I will connect what I love doing with the needs of the world. This is how I will improve my passion with skills and education. I will acquire the right attitude as well towards what I love doing. And then to check whether what I love doing puts me on my feet, I will see what value the world gives to what I love doing. Where in our education do we figure that out? You know, and I think that is where the children are arriving today, and especially our Indian milieu, or even our students, and especially with this pandemic, where we realized that our online classes can just be a fuss, with all our networks never being standardized in rural parts of the country. You know, no matter what best presentation you have as a teacher, what best efforts you make, they will never be reciprocated because simply because technology doesn't allow all the students to receive the same. Now, what do you do in this situation? Can we still go on with online classes or this type of a mode when children themselves at home are planning entrepreneurship? I found so many of the college students in Goa who are saying this is a good time for our startups. So if today children begin to think, I can be on my feet without coming to college, what happens of our colleges? What difference does a college make to a child? And that is where the whole area of mentoring comes in, I thought. We do mention as best practices in all our accreditation programs that we have, mentoring in our college. And when I was an administrator at our college, I asked our teachers a simple question. Can you name some students in your 20, 25 years career whom you can confidently say, I've put on fit? That's mentoring, where I can say, I saw a first year student coming to the college, raw as he or she was, passionate about life because they changed from uniform to a simple dress now. So they felt they are free. And then you looked at this child and you hand-holded the child and guided and mentored the child to discover what she or he is born for. And then you were able to tell the child, yes, in your third year, you are taking care of your own self. You tell your parents, I can manage, because that's where the migration happens of our children abroad. You teach a child how to earn 50,000 a month. Why will he go abroad? But that's the practicality of education. That's not everything. But then also, what is the attitude that a child grows in these 3 years of graduation? He graduates in knowledge, he graduates in skills, he graduates with the right attitude, because that attitude is determining his altitude in life, right? So how do I handhold the child to be independent? When I say independent, I will look at his mental capacities. There's nothing called an IQ anymore. The mental capacity is just about the clarity of vision that the child is guided to have. Is my education allowing the child to have clarity of vision? The processes involved in the clarity of vision? Is my child able to say as a student that, yes, I'm beginning to understand what I could be doing in my distant future, immediate future, and therefore this is my plan, my goals, my strategies, whatever. And that clarity of vision, I think, is where my mental intelligence is all about. Mental intelligence is not just about getting those percentages and then finding yourself lost. Our students need a clear vision into their future. That's mental capacity, right? And then along with that, you are able to let the child become physically fit. We don't want some lumps. I remember our days, and I was just recalling one of the most hectic day in SFS college used to be like get up early in the morning at 6 and get ready for your practices of basketball. And then we had tournaments of a basketball early morning. So have a match early morning, come back, attend classes. I was a PCM student, so afternoon we used to have football practices, come back for your practicals, and then you go back home. And in case there are programs, yes, you had to practice your band, you had to practice your oratory and everything, all on a roll. You had to be representing your college, not just at academics. You had to be doing it for basketball, for football, and that was physical fitness. And when I think about it now, I think physical fitness is not just about running and sweating, but what it opens up. I think it brings discipline. Physical fitness is about discipline. And if I would measure the physical intelligence of our students today, and especially at that age when they come to college, I have to check. And I have to also know that that physical fitness is about the discipline the child is ready to bring. And that discipline is important because that discipline makes me sensitive to the needs of the world. If I don't have discipline, I'm not sensitive to the needs of the world. And that is so important for my mental intelligence. Because if I have a clarity of vision, as I said, the clarity of vision is for what? To become selfish, to just about, to grow your own empire. And then for what? When you die, how much of it remains? But if my clarity of vision, as I said, the clarity of vision is for what? To become selfish, to just about, to grow your own empire. And then for what? When you die, how much of it remains? But if
There is a technical glitch from a resource person side, so he is joining soon.
Is my mic on?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Visible
Yeah.
answer. Yes,
Can
sir.
I
Fine.
resume?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry again. I think I'm on the fate of the students going through online classes. So I resume. Well, from mental intelligence to physical intelligence, the third most important thing I think is our emotional intelligence. And I would sum up emotional intelligence with simply one word: passion. Is there fire in the belly to achieve things? And that passion is so very important for life. I should love what I do and I do what I love. Simply as that. And that passion comes when I'm connected mentally with a clear vision to the world. I am in solidarity, I'm connected, and that gives the fire in the belly. I know I live for something. I know I live to make a difference. And I know that I am indispensable. Many a time people think that may cause pride. It doesn't have to cause pride. I can very humbly, therefore, spend my day with passion for the world. It still feels small and yet magnanimous that God has entrusted a very important purpose unto me. And that's important, living with purpose. And I think this passion is so very important. Every morning, I've got to rediscover myself in spite of all the chaos. I have to say, well, I'm making a difference today to the world. And that's what motivates me. That's like the mad dog that runs behind me. And when a mad dog runs behind you, you run faster than normal. And we need that passion that drives us. And finally, I think, and for me, it's like the beginning and the end of all our intelligences, our spiritual intelligence. Because spiritual intelligence keeps me in communion with my source, my creator. My spiritual intelligence, I would say, I would measure my spiritual intelligence by my level of inspiration. Do I feel and do I get inspired? Because that's what brings the fire in the belly. It's that inspiration that suddenly makes me sensitive to, yes, this is where I make my difference. This is the clarity I require. This is the discipline I require. Makes me creative. And these all connected my spiritual intelligence, my inspiration, my emotional intelligence, the passion, the fire in the belly, my mental intelligence, the clarity of vision that I have for myself as part of the universe, and the physical intelligence that makes me run those miles because I'm sensitive to the world. I know the difference I make to a specific need of the world. So, this together, I would owe it to SFS College. I would owe it to SFS College. And both in those two eras of mine, both first as a student, I remember Father Laurie, a stern principal, who in his very first day in the college to me, he said, Allan, you're coming after a long break, because I had finished my philosophy before coming to science again with a break. You will have to struggle to get your 60%. With a nice smile, with a stern voice, the challenges were given to us. I had professors like Professor Subramaniam, who died very soon, but then Professor Dr. Sarve stepped into his giant shoes and took up the challenge, and I salute him. He gave us a love for maths, and along with Professor Helekar. The veterans that were there in colleges, they combined so well with the younger faculty to create that magic of education. I really am grateful to that. And then we had Professor Chimankar, we had Professor Apte for physics, we had for chemistry. I think I was blessed to have such a wonderful mix of veterans and the younger. And we never sense a generation gap, which can sometimes create unnecessary insecurity, envy, and jealousy, which happens if this model is not functioning. The model of, I would call it a holistic quotient: clarity of vision, connection to the needs of the world, passion, within them. Therefore, they inspired us. And today, when we talk to our students, we talk back, we refer back to what they taught us. And therefore, friends, I think that's the reason why the teacher is such a respected person in society. We have to keep that respect intact, because if the students lose respect for their teacher, the civilization will be in a chaos. And I think all the professors, all the teachers in the past, they are so conscientious about this. And that's the reason why even the Seventh Pay Commission today pays our teachers well. It should not become the other way around, that we join the profession of teaching because there is money in it. We have to ask ourselves, does every bit of what the government and the world acknowledges of a teacher, do I make it happen for my students? It's not just about teaching and covering syllabus. It's about converting knowledge into skills, both technical skills and life skills, about creating peace leaders, creating visionary entrepreneurs. Like I was just asking two of my students who came over from Arunachal Pradesh yesterday. I said, in your college now, so what's the topic you have taken for dissertation? They said, Father, no, there is no dissertation because now it's pandemic. I didn't like it. I said, this should have been actually the time of doing the best project of your life, rather than taking away some of the most important things which are needed for our children, for our students. So my prayer is this: let us keep noble the profession of teaching. Let's not allow, we all have those little bit of narcissistic tendencies, a bit of that Machiavellianism, and then it combines with psychopathy, all in the world today as the dark triad. And dark triad is very dangerous, because then people want to be in control by hook or by crook. That's not good for the world. And education, therefore, is very crucial, because there we have the raw youngsters coming in, insecure as they are, but we don't allow them to get into cocoons of narcissism. Narcissism is about the Prince Narcissus, who looked into the water, saw his image in the water, fell in love with himself, and then fell in the water and drowned. We don't want our students to be over-obsessive about themselves. And that's where our mentoring is needed. We don't want our youngsters to become exploitative of others to meet their ends. We don't want them to be Machiavellianists. Okay? We want them to be humanists. We want them to recognize the other as precious as he or she is. We want them to feel comfortable to just walk across and, not to compete with the other, but to feel comfortable with the other. Yes, these are my weaknesses. These are my strengths. These are your weaknesses. These are your strengths. Let us connect with our strengths. Let us allow our weaknesses to evaporate, or we are not ashamed of them. Weaknesses are not meant to be ashamed of. Weaknesses are areas to realize that I need to be interdependent. Okay, not dependent, but interdependent. I have strengths that make me independent, and the strengths of others is what I know connected to my strength brings peace and harmony in the world. And so I am interconnected. Okay, and this, I think, is our goal, especially to let our children grow from dependence to independence to interdependence. And that's what I would pray for, that we are aware ourselves first, because I was just looking at what they call today, you might be aware of it, Peter Johnson and Gregory Webster calls it as the dirty dozen scale, to measure whether we have semblances of the dark triad. And it's important as teachers that we first have a look at that. And what is it? The dark triad tendencies are very simple, but they can be dangerous in the long run. Things like, I want others to admire me. I want others to pay attention to me. I expect special favors from others. I seek prestige or status. These are scored upon, there's a huge research on that. These are scored upon as narcissistic tendencies which grow up into a dangerous hyperbola tomorrow. And about psychopathy, I lack remorse. I am callous or insensitive. I am unconcerned with the morality of my actions. I am cynical. Psychopathic tendencies, they may start very simple, and if I don't take care of them, they can be very dangerous, not just for me, but for my students. And then I use lies and deceit to get my way. I use flattery to get my way. I manipulate others to get my way. I exploit others towards my own end. Machiavellianism in us. I think we need to be aware that we all have, this light and dark facets within us. We should not grow them into monsters. We should be aware of them, and when our awareness is real, if our mindfulness is at place, then none of them grow into monsters. Because we also have the qualities of the light in us. Simple things like, we call it Kantianism. And what is Kantianism is about? Just simple traits like this. I see the best in others. I admire others. I prefer honesty over charm. I trust that other people will deal fairly with me. These are tendencies of Kantianism, where I think of people not as means to an end, but an end in itself. And then you have qualities of humanism, simple things like, I applaud the successes of others. I don't feel comfortable manipulating others to do what I want. I think people are mostly good. I treat others as valuable. These are qualities of humanism. And finally, the third, which replaces the dark triad qualities, faith in humanity, simple qualities. I'd like to be authentic, even if it damages my reputation. Now, this is very, very tricky for teachers. Sometimes we can be very touchy about reputation. Would it be at the cost of being authentic? Would it be at the cost of integrity? So, if I like to be authentic, even if it damages my reputation, I'm quick to forgive people who have hurt. I enjoy listening to people from all walks of life. When I talk with people, I rarely think about what I want from them. This is faith in humanity. And I would wind up on this note. We as educators have to build the foundations of the light triad, the qualities of the light in our students, develop them, give them their ikigai, make them feel clear about the future, their vision, discipline to be connected to the world, passionate about life and passionate about being for others, and with inspiration, driven by inspiration. And then these qualities of the light will grow. They will make of each of us student a peace leader, an icon in the world. And this is what our colleges are meant to generate, which our students will never be able to do on their own. And this should be an argument of us that yes, they need to come to the college, because this is an indispensable contribution of mentorship that teachers bring into their life. And that will keep the world away from all this control type of leadership that is being seen all over the world today. And that's the dark triad qualities, and we have to eradicate it. It's bad for humanity. Qualities of narcissism, where I'm all the time about myself, And the dangerous thing is, if narcissism, I've got a nice note about it. It's beautiful to hear this. They say, if you're high in Machiavellianism and psychopathy, I will use hard tactics, manipulate others. If I am high in narcissism and Machiavellianism, I use soft tactics to get what I want. Hard tactics are what? threaten others, sabotage their work, destroy experts. Soft tactics, still more dangerous, giving compliments, giving gifts, buying people over. Both are dangerous. We don't want this dark triad in the world anymore. That's where our colleges are important. We have to create through our process of education the light triad, the holistic quotient. And that's where we as students will remain ever grateful to our teachers. I salute you, teachers. We all best. My prayers are always with my alma mater, and I salute my alma mater. Cheers to SFS College. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for a really in-depth, motivating, and a thought-provoking speech to develop qualities of light triad to be a better person in life and make our society great and world a better place to live in. Now, once a great writer, William Arthur Ward had said, feeling thankfulness and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. So, with a heart filled with gratitude, I, Shiva Adalakha, on behalf of the college management and principal, Dr. Katie Thomas sir, take this opportunity to thank our eminent speaker, Dr. Menino Tavares sir, for making this session a very intriguing and stimulating one. So, we are really honored and privileged to have you with us today. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being here and for enlightening us. And most importantly, for giving us your valuable time. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks to you, sir. Now, I would like to hand over the further proceedings to Devashri, who will be introducing our guest of honor, Dr. Leena Chandran Wadia. Over to you, Devashri.
Thank you, Shiva. A very pleasant morning to one and all present here on this forum. I, Devashri Diwanji, on behalf of management and Principal Dr. Katie Thomas Sir of St. Francis de Sales College, once again welcome you all to the valedictory function of our faculty development program. Our guest of honor for today's program is Dr. Leena Chandran Wadia. I would like to introduce ma'am to our dear audience. Dr. Leena is currently working as a senior fellow at Observer Research Foundation, Mumbai. She achieved her PhD in physics from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Her dynamic postdoctoral work was based on high-performance computing at ETH Zurich. She has done her research at many places in India, including IIT Bombay. Ma'am also went to CERN, Switzerland for research purposes. She has a lot of experience in the field of teaching, and she has also had a corporate experience as Senior VP and CTO in Netcore Solutions Private Limited. She has contributed to the drafting of National Education Policy 2019, which was led by Dr. Kasturi Rangan. Besides physics, ma'am is also involved in several research areas such as renewable energy, public health, and sustainable agriculture, and most importantly, in policy advocacy, primarily in the field of education. I heartily welcome you, ma'am. It would be an honor to listen to you speak, ma'am. So I humbly request you to address the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Devashri. Thank you so very much. It's a great privilege and pleasure to follow on Dr. Menino Tavares' footsteps. It's always wonderful when an alumnus of an institution speaks with great pleasure and about his time at an institution. What that tells me is that the SFS College is doing a wonderful job with its, directing its young people. And Dr. Tavares talked about how we have to, sort of develop all the multiple intelligences that young people have, develop their individuality, their mental, physical, spiritual, all these intelligences. So this is a wonderful talk to follow up on, because what I want to talk to you about is something I have spoken here before. I have spoken at SFS College on 3rd November, where I talked about the policy itself. Since the NEP 2020 is going to be relevant for at least a decade, if not longer, I think it's okay to speak some more about it. So today I'm actually going to talk to you a bit more. I brought a few slides with me. Just to remind myself about what I want to speak. I'm not sure that I should share it with you, but maybe I can. I just brought 2-3 slides with me. Let me try and present that. Let's see if I can make that happen. No, it's not. Cancel. 1 sec. I want to start by thanking Dr. Thomas, your principal. He has taken a lot of effort to create a program that is wonderful. He was asking me if I would like to speak during the faculty development programs. I have seen all the topics that you have discussed today, and I think many of them are very, very relevant. I don't think I could have done justice to them. I have spoken on the education policy. I've worked a lot on the education policy since national education policy since 2017, and before that Karnataka state education policy. So I'm going to just talk about realizing a just and equitable society and promoting sustainable development through NEP 2020. Are you able to see my slides? I don't think so, right? Never mind. Let's not waste time doing that. Let me just talk about what I want to say. So what I want to say is that, the aim of the policy is actually to create a just and equitable society and also promote sustainable development through NEP 2020. We have to understand that post-World War II, the very fast increased pace of development with technologies and so on has resulted in us ravaging the planet that we live on, the only planet that we live on. And, we have been... India was a signatory in 2015 to the Sustainable Development Goals because India is also one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, because the sea levels will rise, and we know how many people live on the seaside. Much of India is a peninsula, and the monsoons are unpredictable. We are seeing that already. Every year we have floods in multiple places around the country, and then the glaciers are melting, which is impacting access to drinking water. We are vulnerable to almost all the bad effects of climate change, and so India needs to actually develop sustainably, and we have to teach our young people to sort of cope with all the problems that have been created in the past 70 years or so. And so therefore we have to look at education in a new light and ask ourselves, is this what we are doing? Dr. Tavares talked about, what is the value of an educational institution to students? And I want to add to what he's saying by saying that, the NEP is actually, like Dr. Kasurirangan likes to call it, a transformational document. It's not an incremental change that the NEP is trying to do. And transformation is always difficult when you already have a ground reality which is not the best, which has lots of entrenched interests and so on. So the only people who can lead us from this ground reality into the new ground reality that the NEP is seeking are teachers, and of course supported by the managements of the colleges. So it's wonderful to know that SFS is doing such wonderful work through Dr. Tavares' speech earlier this morning. So let me just go through, I'm just going to sort of, just share with you some of the thoughts that all of us who worked on the policy thought about when it came to trying to write down the policy. So let's begin with school education, because that's where, of course, education begins at conception. Learning begins at conception, but we are talking about preschool and school. So what we know and we read about year after year is that we have a learning problem. ASAR, which is a private NGO, comes out year after year with a document which points out that children in 5th standard cannot do 2nd standard arithmetic, or cannot do division, cannot do subtraction. action. And even I have seen, and most of you must have seen, that children who have studied in supposedly English medium are not comfortable speaking English even after having passed their 10th standard or 12th standard exams. So we have a learning problem. And now the government doesn't really like ASER, but their own national assessment survey also says the same thing. NCERT conducts a national assessment survey and the result is the same. So at the time of the policy discussions, we were asking ourselves, what are the reasons, what are the possible reasons for this, the learning problem? And it took us to many, many very diverse issues, starting from hunger. The children are hungry, especially in government schools, in rural areas where there's so much poverty. And today we are reading so much more in the context of the pandemic that, it's such a contrast, isn't it? That you have grains rotting in the Food Corporation of India, and we have, the child nutrition survey has just come out, which says that the children who are stunted from lack of nutrition has grown in the last few years. And now the pandemic's going to make it worse. So, from hunger to, the language problems and so on, there is just a large number of issues that lead to the learning problem. And that's why the policy has a very, very strong focus on foundational literacy and numeracy. We have more than 15 lakh schools. We have 15.5 lakh schools. Just think about it for a minute. That's such a large number. And we also have 13 lakh Anganwadis where children go when they are 3 or 2.5, or, even when they are babies, because Anganwadis are supposed to serve the communities if mothers go to work. Now, with all these institutions, we think that with a reorientation towards foundational literacy and numeracy, we hope to, overcome the learning problem. Then, of course, we have another problem, which is dropouts. By the time we reach 11th standard in school, if 10 kids started in primary school, we have only 5 in class. So we've lost 50%, almost 50%, 46%. So that's another very hard problem. And then when we looked at that, we found again that there are no easy solutions to that, because more than 50% of boys and more than 60% of girls are not in school for economic reasons. 50% of boys are purely economic reasons. In the girls' cases, 30% of the girls are doing domestic work, another 15% are getting married, and that is 45, and another 15% are seeking economic work, you see. So if that many kids are out of school for reasons that they cannot control, it's the circumstances of their family, then, how do we commit to universalization of education? We really want them to have good education so that they can get good jobs and contribute not just to their families, but to society and to the country. I mean, your anthem says that, to God and our land and the college, and they must contribute to society. So that means that school education has to think about how best to educate these kids even before we lose them, actually. Yeah. And of course, there are so many socially and economically disadvantaged groups. I don't need to tell you all that. You are in a tier 2 city, and all around you, you might be seeing it. There are everybody from, economic disadvantage and geographic disadvantage are very, very severe, because if you're in a geographic area where there are not enough education, you may want education, but you may not get it, actually. And economic disadvantage, like I said, if you have to go and work instead of coming to school, then there is no choice for you at all. Most importantly, we also found, and this is true of higher education also, and Dr. Tavares referred to this, that there is a lack of student centricity in the way we provide education. We are not looking at the child as somebody with a potential to become something, not trying to find out what that child can become, what is his or her strength, what is their interest, what are their goals. We don't have that. We don't don't have student centricity. And, the NEP is actually making a clarion call to bring student centricity back. And as I said, it's only the teachers who can do that, actually. And for doing that, we don't need any policy implementation to happen, any funding to happen. It can begin today. And from what I heard from Dr. Tavares, SFS is already doing that. So I'd like to congratulate SFS, but I would like to appeal to all faculty to actually do more of that. So of course, the policy goes on to strengthen, to work a lot on strengthening government schools, because it still has 55% of the enrollment. And, by introducing pre-primary classes in government schools, introducing English, learning in bilingual education, so that, I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Okay, I'll continue. And so on. And also the other thing is that the school education will not do well unless there is vastly improved teacher preparation and conditions of work for teachers. In fact, there was a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a survey in Delhi schools, and some of the teachers said that, people become school teachers in private schools if they have no other option, because private schools also don't pay well, and teaching is not an attractive profession. So that was our overview of what school education is about. When it comes to higher education, what I don't need to tell you this. What is the dominant feeling that we have about higher education? And that is that higher education has lost sight of its primary purpose, namely preparing people for life and for citizenship. And this Dr. Tavares also referred to, that we have just lost sight of that. Somehow as human beings, and we have this power relationship. Anybody who is in a position of power, we like to use that power to try and crush or subjugate people who are under our influence. And that's what educational institutions are doing. We terrorize students with examinations. We terrorize them with requirements for attendance, and if they don't have attendance, we don't let them write exams, destroy 1 year of their life. I mean, what are we doing actually? I mean, here is a human being with a potential to contribute. If he or she is not attending a certain class, then we have to ask ourselves why. Why is a student not willing to attend a class? Obviously, he or she feels that they cannot get value in that class. And of course, the interests may not match, but then the teachers have to ask that question, that can I do something differently that will make the child come to class? Can we do group projects? Can we, just attempt different pedagogies? These are questions that faculty, we need to ask ourselves, And Dr. Tavares was talking about, what is the value of educational institutions. And one of the other values of educational institutions is the opportunity for peer learning. Students learn a lot from each other. They don't just come to college to learn from their teachers. The teachers are mentors and will inspire them, but students also learn from each other. And one of the big disadvantages that India has is that we are mostly day school and day colleges. We have very little residential undergraduate education. Why is JNU so good, or why is IIT so good? Because these are residential. So this education doesn't stop in class. The students move out of class and go to the nearest dhaba and sit over a chai and keep talking about what the teachers have talked about in class. And then at night in the hostels, they talk about it some more. They help each other to do homework. So residential is very, very valuable, but we don't have it. So then this means that we have to also create opportunities for peer learning in India. And there we fail terribly, because only 4% of our colleges have over 3,000 enrollment, which is something that we set as a goal for enrollment in the national education policy. 16% have enrollment less than 100 students. Those are not environments that are good for education. 40% of colleges offer only one program, either a B.Ed or a B.Com, and so you go through college not having met a single person who can speak like Dr. Tavares did, who has studied theology, or a scientist, and so you don't have any understanding of all the other professions that are available in the world. And so can we really call that a preparation for life? So it's not. So, so these are all some of the very important challenges. And, we have faculty, Seventh Pay Commission is indeed very good salaries for teachers, but not very few teachers get those salaries. Many people are working on contract jobs. Many are working on clock hour basis. These are criminal practices, actually, and we have a wage problem. We don't pay very high wages to those who are on contract jobs. So then if teaching does not have respect, how will we draw talent to it? Yet, the faculty, for example, in Bombay, St. Xavier's College, faculty are so dominant in the board of studies of Mumbai University, and they determine curriculum. And so good faculty are really the hope moving forward. And of course, our GER is very, very low. Only 26 out of every 100 students get admission to undergraduate college. But if you think about the fact that employability is like something like 37% or 35% in most BA, BSc, BCom, we are saying that out of that 26, only about a third, maybe 8 or 9 people are employable out of every 100. That's not the way for a country to grow. So these are the reasons why, NEP 2020 is a clarion call for transformational change. And towards that, the policy does many things. I don't want to go into too many details, but I just want to say that, institutions like SFS must prepare and apply for autonomy and sort of improve your the quality of education you supply, even beyond what you have. The policy provides for a 4-year undergraduate, which is optional. 3 years and 4 years both are available, so that undergraduate is not expensive. But we know that in India, an undergraduate degree is very, very aspirational. Every child wants an undergraduate degree. And so if you introduce some level of liberal education, which includes some exposure to the humanities and the arts, and some exposure to the sciences, and some exposure to including professional degrees like engineering or vocations. Today, vocational education has so much opportunity. India is one of those rare countries where, there are young people looking for jobs, and there is industry looking for trained people, and the two are not meeting. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, if one young person gets a job, his whole family, he or she, their whole family's economic situation improves. So why is it that educational institutions are not even aware that there is so much opportunity in industries relating to vocational education, which have jobs waiting for students? And this is why, for example, vocational education, which UGC, BVOC courses, which UGC introduced in 2014, have now just taken off, and there are more than 1,000 or 1,100 colleges that already offer BVOC courses. But again, you cannot offer BVOC for the sake of BVOC. You have to actually offer good quality BVOC courses. The challenge of vocational education is that, practical component is very high, 60-70%. So you need educational institutions to tie up with industry in their local regions and find apprenticeships for students, and so that students can do apprenticeship, can work in industry during 9 to 5, and then come for classes either in the evening or on Saturdays and get their BVOC degrees, and then they are all placed right away, because even industry has understood that apprenticeships are a very good way to hire students because they come in, they work for 3 years during their BWalk at the industry. They have learned, they've picked up a lot of not just their own jobs, but all the, working in collaboration, working in teams, the culture of the institution. And so the institution actually finds it, very beneficial to recruit their own apprentices. And there is a lot of research data to show that. But our educational institutions are so separated from industry that these things are not even known, actually. Similarly, the academic bank of credits that the NEP has proposed is actually a complete game changer. What it means is that educational institutions can collaborate with each other and say that, SFS will recognize the course offered by, say, the Open University or another college nearby, and you can collaborate to give the student more choice, and you don't have to restrict the student to face-to-face classes. You can blend in or online education, distance education, all of that, and give students the real choices and the opportunities that they want. But you have to do this without losing the quality of education, and that calls for a complete reorientation of mindsets towards better quality education. So I just want to say that what we have at the turn of a year, at this season, the last week of the year, it's very hard to not be, happy and enthusiastic and looking forward to the next year, especially because 2020 has been so difficult, and also especially because there is a vaccine and there is a promise that we will be able to go back to some kind of normal life. So it's in that sense, I want to sort of end by saying that the NEP is an invitation to all educators to reimagine the future of education. If you have heard any of Dr. Kasturirangan's talks, you would have heard him say this, actually, that what we want to do is develop students as per their individual aspirations and add value to their personalities, to their knowledge, to their ability to contribute to dealing with the problems of society, and that puts the spotlight on faculty. And the pandemic has underlined the need to build back better. There were so many things we were doing wrong. The advertising industries all around us trying to sell us dreams which actually are not sustainable. The kind of lifestyles that are sold and are not sustainable. How do you want to live? India has one of the most sustainable lifestyles out there in the rural areas, and people are happy. And why do you want to dislocate them? Survey after survey tells us that young people in rural areas want to remain in rural areas and want to remain in their home areas where they have grown up, they have family and friends, they are familiar with the lifestyle. So educational institutions need to actually go out there, help them find jobs there by engaging with industries out there, actually. So, I think I should stop here. I just want to say that faculty members need to believe in themselves and believe in their ability to lead and show the way to everyone. And if that calls for working very hard, of course, but the satisfaction will be just as high, and the rewards not just to yourself, but to the college and to society will be very, very high. So I'd like to stop with that. Thank you all so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful talk. It was truly captivating. Now, I would like to hand over further proceedings to Mrs. Sonika Hilson, ma'am. Over to you, Sonika, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Devashri. Once again, a very good morning to our respected dignitaries and everyone present to your life, unless you are grateful for what you already have. It is indeed a privilege for me to propose this final vote of thanks under the capacity of the coordinator of this 3-week faculty development program. To conduct a program of this status at such a grand level requires meticulous planning, and loads of hard work and dedication can only see it materialize. The rigorous hard work that went into it from the day the idea of this FDP webinar was conceived to the day it was conceptualized and executed cannot be encapsulated in such a short span of time, but the grandeur of the turnout speaks volumes in itself. I take this opportunity to thank our beloved chairman, His Grace, Most Reverend Elias Gonsalves, who graced us with his benevolent presence and inaugurated this 3-week faculty development program. My sincere gratitude to the management and principal, Dr. Katie Thomas, who provided us with a wonderful platform to learn and evolve. Their continuous guidance and exhortation was indeed stimulating. On behalf of the management and principal, I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to our speakers of every session, who, with their expertise and plethora of knowledge, guided us immeasurably, which is evident from the flood of positive feedbacks that we received. We are immensely grateful to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Chari, Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra, Dr. Prantik Banerjee, Dr. Shrikant Prabhu, Dr. Maitre, Dr. Christopher, Dr. Martina, Dr. Nanoti, Dr. Sahai, Dr. Sakharkar, Dr. Sharifi, Dr. D'Souza, Dr. Nimbarte, Dr. Sukhatankar, Dr. Patnaik, Dr. Gaikwad, Father Thadathil, and Dr. Sivaswaru, who shared their incisive genius and deductive reasoning with us. We are highly obliged to Dr. Allan Tavares, our chief guest of today's valedictory function, presence, and shared their wonderful experiences and knowledge with us. To inculcate confidence and to groom the students into becoming a better version of themselves, the students were deliberately given the responsibility to shoulder anchoring of the sessions, and they indeed did a commendable job. We sincerely appreciate the efforts of Samiksha, Rushali, Tunga, Kevin, Mantasha, Mihir, Toshvi, Preet, Blessy, Gaurav, Serena, Rajat, Gayatri, Khushdeep, Simran, Jacqueline, Shiva, and Devashri. Their hard work paved way to the success of this program. I'm also indebted to the members of the advisory committee, Mrs. Soma Banerjee and Father Praveen D'Souza, for their timely guidance and strong support. The reason the program remained unfaltered was because we had such adroit people guiding us. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Vinisha Broody and Ms. Joycey John for their constant support in preparing the students, conducting demo sessions, and exceeding their own capacity to make this program a success. To organize a webinar of such stature on live platform requires swift knowledge and pristine expertise. I am thankful to the technical team of Google Meet that included Ms. Reshma, Ms. Shweta, Ms. Ritika, Ms. Swati, Ms. Pranita, and Ms. Surabhi, who worked under the able guidance of Mr. Biju Anglis. I'm also thankful to the technical team who streamed the entire program live on YouTube. Ms. Itika, Ms. Akshita, Ms. Neha, Ms. Kavita, and Ms. Pinky, who toiled hard under the perfect leadership of Mr. Rojo John. I'm also thankful to Mr. Dilip Sadhankar, who perfectly carried out all the correspondences for the smooth functioning of the webinar sessions. And of course, a big thank you to you, dear participants, for your constant presence and unmitigated support. Thank you for being such patient listeners and viewers. This pandemic peril is coaxing us to move to a new dimension. Could it be into this wonderful world of online? Only time will tell. But we as humans know how to make the most of any situation, and that is what we indeed did. So once again, a big thank you to everyone. A small reminder to all our participants and viewers watching us through YouTube Live and Google Meet that the feedback link is provided in the respective WhatsApp groups and also in the Google Meet chat box and YouTube live chat. Please feel free to fill the feedback links. Thank you. Have a wonderful day ahead. I now request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे